I read the book that you gave me, or I read the book which you gave me. Which one should I use? This video is about the basics of relative clauses and the relative pronouns which and that. Now, you might not know what relative clauses or relative pronouns are, and that's okay, because I'm going to make all of this very easy to understand. First, what is a clause? A clause is basically just a part of a sentence that has both a subject and a verb. I read the book that you gave me. In that sentence, we have two clauses. I read the book and that you gave me. Each of those has both a subject and a verb. A relative clause is basically just a clause that starts with a question word, or the word that. And when we use question words this way, we call them relative pronouns. Here are 3 examples. This is the place where I met my wife. Shoma, who lives next door, has a dog. Did you try the Japanese restaurant that I told you about? Sometimes relative clauses add important information that helps us better understand who or what we are talking about. For example, I want to live somewhere where I can walk to work. In this sentence, the relative clause, where I can walk to work, is very important. The meaning of the sentence is not complete or not clear without this information. If we remove the relative clause, where I can walk to work, the sentence really doesn't mean the same thing. I want to live somewhere. This sentence is correct, but it's not really clear or useful. And sometimes relative clauses just give us extra information. For example, I gave my dog a bowl of food, which she ate very quickly. In this sentence, the relative clause, which she ate very quickly, doesn't really affect the meaning of the first clause. We can understand the first clause 100% without this extra information. The fact that she ate the food very quickly might be interesting, but it's not really important. It doesn't change anything. We don't need to know that. When we are talking about things, and we are just adding extra information, like in that example, we almost always use which. This car, which is very expensive, belongs to my sister. We can take out the relative clause, which is very expensive, and we have this car belongs to my sister. The sentence is still clear and still has the same basic meaning, just with a bit less detail. Maybe you sell ice cream, and you tell a customer, this is our dark chocolate, which is one of my favorites. You can take out the relative clause, which is one of my favorites, and the customer will still be able to understand your basic message very easily. This is our dark chocolate. When the information in the relative clause is important to the meaning of the whole sentence, we usually use that. For example, where is the book that I gave you yesterday? Without the relative clause, that I gave you yesterday, the listener cannot be 100% sure which book the speaker is talking about. So we need the information in the relative clause in order to understand the question correctly. Also, just so you know, sometimes in conversation, we don't include the relative pronouns. So instead of, did you get the package that I sent you, you might hear just, did you get the package I sent you? Or instead of, that is the cutest puppy that I have ever seen, you might hear just, that is the cutest puppy I have ever seen. When this happens, when we have a relative clause without a relative pronoun, we call this a contact clause. And you don't need to remember that name, but you should remember that we do this sometimes. So yeah, that is a very basic explanation of relative clauses and the relative pronouns that and which. I hope you found this video useful. Thank you for watching.